great war comes as we know it must. And the government says it's time for every citizen to go and fight to the death.
Hey, welcome back to Tactics Talk with Guido. I got the replay of the week. NiteDog sent in a video of his Skorpion G German Tier 8 Premium TD, the best medium, the best Tier 8 Premium medium in the game. This really is a hybrid medium and TD. You can see that it's quite a large, soft vehicle, but it's got a very good gun. And he's bottom tier, but he's not bothered because this tank can deal with that quite well. We've loaded into the Paris map, and you'll see that initially he's going to come over here and look down this long alleyway using these bushes right here. Talk about it as he sets up just a little bit. Not my favorite positioning decision, but you'll see what he's trying to do. He gets in here, he's using this bush. Once he backs up enough that he cannot see through it, then he's getting some of the cover, although he just gave up a little bit of bush right there. NiteDog, I would say on that one, if this is your plan to go ahead and come in here and shoot guys as they go by, then I would be putting my cursor or my crosshair like right there at the edge of that building, because you know they're coming from left to right. Maybe zoom out just a little bit so you can see them on the screen, but once they appear, just fire away. But that kind of searching around thing right there caused you some issues, and you know they're going to be fleeting shots right there because they are hauling across that opening. So that is one of the good things about this spot. You can see that he is looking for shots if they get spotted by something like the M48, which has really good view range right here, or if somebody gets up on this little flat courtyard, they can see down that as well, although the angle is a little bit worse. You kind of need somebody on the Patton's angle right there to see them just as they come across, and you can catch them. So that's the good news about this spot. The bad news, excuse me, the bad news is that we've got a bunch of guns camping in the back. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, even the Rev 6. And he's not camping, but he's kind of over in the useless field area over there. And we got a bunch of guys stacked up here. Now, unfortunately, for the enemy team, they're idiots, and they're going to stop in openings that they get spotted on, and they actually lose a few hit points. So that is the argument for going where NiteDog goes, and these guys are actually, these guys being his team, are actually taking a few hit points off of the enemy team. You can see that he's got a couple TDs hanging out on this alleyway. He's got an STB here, now a Pershing, so there are some mediums looking down here. But here, down here in the south is where the actual major battle is developing. And NiteDog isn't there. Now, it is not easy to run the Skorpion in the middle of one of those big brawls, but you can do it. I have plenty of videos showing it. You just have to be very careful. And the nice thing is that it's got a good gun for doing it if you can avoid taking too many hits. But it's working out because the enemy team is a little bit silly. NiteDog, I think that guy was actually poking out. If you'd have aimed a little bit left, you might have highlighted him. And it's interesting that now we've got a T-34 moving up. So even though we have a bunch of tanks stacked up here, geez, we've even got the T-10 right here. The enemy is being very silly and moving in and helping NiteDog's team farm them. So that's all well and good. Initial positioning, I probably would have gone down south to help the main push. You went to the middle, you saw some tanks. The enemy team was a little silly, but you punished them for it. But now we're kind of looking at this going, all right, that's all well and good, but holy cow, look how many guys are stacked up around you right here, NiteDog, with the AMX, the Patton, the T10, the RHM, the 100.01, which is actually up there in a corner for some reason. I think if you aimed lower and left, you'd have been able to get to his hole right there, and he might have had a sliver to get a better shot than going at his turret. So my point of all that is, it is past time to shift focus and head south and see if you can help the guys down south deal with what is becoming a losing situation down there. So we will move up a little bit right here. Now the problem with getting up too far into this open courtyard here is it has so many crossfire opportunities from all these different directions right here. So while it affords you shots down into these alleyways, it is very open out here, and they have a much easier time side scraping and hiding and popping out at different times so that you can't keep your turret or focus on all of them. The good news is you've got a good chunk of your team. The bad news is this is a kind of bad position, especially if they own all of these alleyways right here. Now the southern one, they're busy enough, they're probably not going to be shooting up anytime soon. And the enemy's doing exactly what they've got to do to keep you from pushing around and flanking that southern fight. There's just enough of them out there, but they're being a little bit foolish in the way they do it, and they end up going down. And again, I would be shifting down to the south. The thing about the field and people who go to it is they are, unless they've already pushed hard by now and are sweeping up your guys, they are probably fairly passive players, and you probably have time to head down to the south, help your team clean up that big fight down there, maybe preserve some of your tanks, and these guys aren't really going to do much about it. Now the Pershing's a problem. Clearly, if you go blitzing across, you're going to be seen, so now you're just basically following the best shots that you have at this point. And like I said, I'd have gone around the back. I miss those shots every time. Nice shot right there. Of course, the Pershing punishes you a little bit for it. And fair enough, you're going down here to finish off this Pershing. He fires, so you have an opportunity. He comes in, nicely done. You take him out, and the STB is now reacting. Now, see, that's another thing about that. Had you shifted down to the south and not really pushed hard down in here, I can't talk to the cannon. Maybe he would have done it anyway. Maybe the STB doesn't shift any earlier or as early as he did. Maybe he sits out there worried about that T-49 and 100.01. Now we got to play Ring Around the Rosie with these two guys, who are actually probably in a little bit better position to take you two down. Although the STB-1 is going to start getting hammered here. You'll notice that the southern fight has lost and that they've evened it up pretty good. Let's talk a little bit about how you set this corner right here. Just take a look at it. I'm going to shift out. If you're going to wait for somebody to come around a corner like this, which is fine, you see him coming, that's good SA, I would back up so that I was looking just right down the edge of the building like that, so that if I take a shot and do back up, I'm able to get around that building faster. So watch what happens right here. I like the idea. The ambush is a good idea. Nicely aimed right there. He comes around, but you don't have enough time to back up and out of the way. Now, he may still have hit you, but if he'd have been about right there, you might have got away from him. This is a good idea. One thing I like about this kind of idea is instead of running up to that corner, which is what most people will do, you might get proxy lit and then he'll see you coming. At least if you go this way, you have a reasonable expectation of some point of dropping off of his radar. Now, he may know you're going here based on how long you were lit. I'm not sure. But it just minimizes potentially the amount of SA that he has on you. And it gets you a better angle as well, doesn't it? So the cannon's getting swarmed, and most of your power now is up here, or down here. Well, I guess over here, right, on the east side. Shooting on the run, take him down. And now we're heading on to the cap, and this is a bit of a dicey position because you've got quite a few tanks, but all of you are hurt. So we got the Patton right there. We stop. He's not really being very smart. It's hit. But he survives. Now we've got the Type 5 coming in. So what I didn't really understand here is why you didn't jump on the cap. You've got one guy on your cap. Now you do have the 100.01 finally being of use. I suppose his plan was to manage his hit points such that he could reset the cap at the end of a near loss. But if you'd have jumped on there, your timing would have started going down much faster. And one of the things that does is it makes the other team panic a little bit more and make them feel like they have to push a little harder. Now this is actually alright. I do like that you are getting aggressive, but whoa, that could have ended your game right there. I think you pushed out into the middle of that just a little further than you should have. Nice SAC in the ST1. I like that you didn't fire right there. I'm not sure what this guy is trying to do. It looks like he's trying to side scrape, but he really over angles. Gives you a really nice shot on him. Take him down. Now you're down to 2. So that's much better. You cleaned up those guys. You did it with a bunch of crossfire. You forced them to come back to the cap, which is not always good if you're outnumbered. Being forced back to the cap when you're outnumbered usually ends up in something like this, where 4 or 5 tanks jump all over each one of your tanks as you try to push in. A little late on noticing the pattern. He shows up on your mini map. He's over there, and you're like, oh crap, there he is. Spin around. This M48 is going to come zinging around the corner and dies. So nicely done. 3,638, 4 kills, and this is on as bottom tier in a tier 10. So showing a good amount of capability in the tier 10 battle. The 357 we've all come to know and love in the last few months. For me, I'd have been probably down in the south, but when you look at the whole fight and how it developed, turned out it actually worked out very well for you. You did stick with a few tanks. You had a purpose. You dealt with the guys in the middle. You swept up to the north, got the guys out of the field, and then you flexed back down to the south. I just think if a couple of you had pushed down to the south a little earlier, you might have actually won that fight down there. And of course, the 100.01, he cleared the cap. That's about all that can be said for him. Had he been down in the south, also, you may have had a better time down there as well. But fortunately, the southern guys beat them up enough that you were able to deal with what showed back up at the cap. So really just a little small things as far as comments and criticisms on it. Like I said, nice job. Hope you guys learned something. I hope you like what you saw. If you did, make sure you subscribe. And as always, can I talk? No. As always, we will see you.